John, let's talk about the character of Tom Hardy. You know, being an ex-Army Ranger and stuff. Do you think that you have the temperament, the same type of skills that would be necessary to actually be someone like that?
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, in that I admire the discipline of someone like that. I admire the orderliness, and then I also admire the renegade aspects that he's got. I like that he balances this military rigidness with this offhanded flip kind of sense of humor that he's got. So yes and no. I mean, I think that, certain characters I identify with 100% and others partially, and probably, that's part of the acting game is I'm about to play a fireman in my next movie, and I could see fully that I could be a fireman, but then you have to say, would you really, want to, or do you have the courage to be? So it's two different questions. So.
But Tom exudes confidence. I mean, that's definitely one of his strongest attributes. Do you think John Travolta shares that same thing? Do you need that confidence as an actor?
Well, acting, because I've done it since I was a child, I have a lot of confidence, and acting's not something I feel ever threatened by. I feel like I just need to know the pieces of the puzzle and the dialogue, and I need to do my research, and then I'll give you a good go of it, and I don't ever worry about that. So I have confidence as a pilot too, as a jet pilot. I have a lot of training as a pilot, so I feel like I could get into almost any cockpit, and if you just show me where those switches are, I could figure it out.
You mentioned the word puzzle, which I thought was it's interesting because a movie like this really is a puzzle. It's very deceptive. And I was wondering, are you a fan of that genre? Are you able to figure out the twists and turns? And is it important to lay clues for an audience so they can figure it out?
I think it's important to challenge an audience. And you have to lay a certain amount of clues. But I never feel like I'm forced to figure it out as long as the journey is worth traveling. Meaning, in this movie in particular, I knew everything, how it all fit during the making of it. I just felt like in watching it, I didn't need to know at every moment what everything might be or might not be, but I was loving that there were all these different stories and there was all these variations of the truth. And as Giovanni Ribisi's character says, there are levels of truth. No, what does he say? There are degrees of truth. So I like that idea.
Let's talk about the truth. Do you think that you are intuitive enough you can tell when someone's telling the truth? Are you able to be, especially now being a dad, you have a couple of kids who are always going to try and pull something over. Can you spot that? Are there little clues for you?
Not unless you ask enough questions. And that's a fact. You couldn't with just a couple of questions. You would have to ask questions from every possible angle. Left, right, up, down, sideways, I don't care, in order to get to a truth. And then there'll be a moment where you go, aha, okay, now I got it. Because I asked that question 5 different ways, and they came up with a variation of the same theme. But if they answer it differently on every question, then you know that there's something up. And you probably don't know the truth.
What I loved about this movie, too, was all the rain. And I was wondering, what kind of mood does that set for you on a set?
Oh, I actually love ambiance in a movie. I'm one of these actors, and I've never really admitted this on an interview before, but I'm one of those actors that really can get 100% captivated by the atmosphere of the set. Meaning, if I see a backdrop of a country or a city behind a window, I kind of believe that there really is that thing there. So when there's rain, I own it. I kind of believe, oh, it really is raining, and then I wear it as part of it. It's part of the pretend part that I really enjoy about acting, and I've always enjoyed that. If you see a play and you only see the downstairs, now there's no upstairs because those are the rosters. That's where everything hangs. But I think, I wonder what the upstairs looks like. You know what I mean? It's just my imagination. So
I have to ask you about working with Sam Jackson again. I mean, you guys in Pulp Fiction, that was such a renaissance in a sense for both of you.
Sure.
Now to come back after all these years, I don't want to give too much away, but you don't have too many scenes together. Was it still as exciting to come back with and to have that?
Yeah, because I felt like the idea of Sam and I being on the same screen together really was what it was about. You know, whether we paralleled in scenes or we were in the same scene, it didn't really matter. Our energies were together telling a story, you know, and that's what I felt was valuable about it.
Can I go on for just two more quick ones?
Sure.
Okay. I want to ask you too, because you were talking about the ambiance, and I thought what was fascinating too is you wear the same clothes throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I
And,
love
you know,
that.
for actors too, because it's usually about all these costume changes and
Yes.
different mood. What does that do for you too? Is it more intense that way?
I loved it because I felt the character never was worried about what he was wearing, and I didn't want to worry about what I was wearing. And I felt like I could just forget about it and just do the bit. And then if I wanted to use the T-shirt to try to turn her on or something, I could do it, you know, or the pose or whatever it was. I could use it as a tool, but never really worry about it.
I thought what was fascinating too, John, is that you technically didn't have any military scenes per se in the movie, and yet you decided to go through training.
Yeah.
Why was that? What did you find necessary?
I don't know what it is. It just makes you feel like when I lifted the shirt to show my tattoo, I felt like I felt like I had a reality on a memory of it because I could remember what I did, and it's a confidence builder is basically what it is. That's all, you know. I didn't have to. I looked on the internet and found tons of material on my position and the military and the Rangers and what they do and what they're obligated to, and it's all those little pieces of information. I'm doing the same for this fireman movie I'm on now. You just collect it all, whether you use it or not. You may or you may not. It just it's not wasteful because it gives you a sense of confidence when you go to portray the character.
And the last question for you, which I find interesting, is you talk to most people, they have no interest in ever being in the military. But yet there's a voyeuristic notion about going to see something about the military. They want to watch it on the news. They want to watch it in the movie.
Yeah.
And in this movie, too, we're seeing a whole aspect of something that we really know nothing about.
Sure.
Why? What is the fascination we have with the military?
I've always felt the military is a mysterious place. And the facets of the government that are connected to the military are mysterious. A lot of secrets, a lot of truths, a lot of half-truths, a lot of dabs of truth. And I feel that really is what glues us. Mystery, people love mysterious things. I think the military is sexy and also at the same time mysterious.
John Travolta, thank you for not being mysterious.
You're
It was
welcome.
great to see you again.